Okay, so now you and the seller have come to an agreement on the price. What do you do next? Well, the next thing to do, my friend, is to go to contract. And what we're going to talk about today are the 4 clauses. The 4 clauses you need to make sure you have in that contract with the seller to make sure you have as little as liability as possible in the deal. And of course, you don't want any hiccups going to the closing table, because why? You want to pick up that check, my friend. Stay tuned. All right, so you made it on back, and I'm so glad that you did, because it's going to be well worth your time. Today's topic is going to add a lot of value to you, because it's going to make sure that you have as little as liability as possible when going under contract with the seller. Before we go ahead and jump into today's topic, guys, I want you to go ahead and click that subscribe bell button, so that way we can notify you of any of the latest, greatest content that you won't be able to find anywhere else on YouTube when it comes to wholesaling real estate. I have 10 years of experience as a full-time real estate investor, wholesaling houses, fixing and flipping houses, and I've done my largest deal today, which was a 200-unit apartment syndication. So you're in the right place if you want to understand what real estate investing is all about and how to get started on your path to freedom with wholesaling real estate. So again, today's topic is, what are the 4 clauses you need inside of the contract with the seller to make sure that you have as little as liability as possible? Number 1. You need to make sure that you put inside of the contract that the seller must pass free and clear title to you. If you're dealing with a not so competent title company and they do not catch any liens when they do run the title search, and you don't have that specific clause on there, well, guess what, guys? You may close on a deal with liens on it, and then guess who's going to be responsible for those liens? You are. So guys, you definitely want to make sure that you have that inside of your additional clauses inside of your contract with the seller. The second clause that you want to make sure that you have in the contract with the seller is, seller must pay for any unknown liens and encumbrances attached to the title of the property. You'll come to find out in a lot of situations, guys, you're going to come across sellers who are not even sure if they have liens on the property or not. Yeah, that's right, guys. You're going to come across sellers who may not have even been to their property in the past 4 or 5, 6 or 7 years, and they don't have any idea what's going on with it. So if the title comes back and it's revealing that there are liens on the property, and you don't have that clause in there, as the seller must pay for any unknown liens, and this goes back to dealing with an incompetent title company, if they do not catch that, ladies and gentlemen, then guess who has to pay for those any unknown liens? You do. Clause number 3 you need to make sure you have in that contract with the seller that correlates into the first 2 clauses we spoke about already. You want to make sure you have a clause in that contract saying that your EMD, earnest money deposit, is refundable if the seller cannot pass you free and clear title. And it's simple as that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't want to be in a situation where you put up earnest money and then the seller cannot pass you free and clear title, but you did not have that clause in the contract in order to recoup your earnest money. Now you're at a disadvantage, ladies and gentlemen. Now, there are some sellers out there that have some decency about themselves, right? And they're going to refund that earnest money, even if you didn't put that clause in the contract. But just to make sure that everything is spelled out black and white with clarity, you want to make sure that you have that EMD refundable if seller can't pass free and clear title. Now, the last clause that you want to make sure you have in that contract with the seller is an out clause. An out clause that will allow you to back out of the deal if you cannot find a buyer for it, which is going to be your inspection clause. I highly advise, if you're just now getting started in this business, to put an inspection clause in the contract that's going to run all the way up to the closing date. Now, if you've been learning from all of the tutorials that I put out there in regards to wholesaling real estate, you should know that you should give yourself 30 days under contract to go out there and find a legitimate buyer that you can either assign the deal to or double close on it with. By running that inspection clause all the way up until closing, that will give you at least 30 days to find the buyer and back out of the deal if you can. Now you may be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, TJ, what if the seller won't give me 30 days? That's okay. All you essentially really need is 2 weeks to identify a serious buyer, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to run an inspection clause for 15 days, you know you have 15 days to find a buyer that can transact on that deal, so that way you can get paid. And of course, the seller can get paid too as well, right? Because that's what we're truly in the business of, helping other people, creating solutions to sellers' problems that they can't create for themselves. Okay, guys, those are the 4 clauses you need to make sure you have in the contract with the seller to reduce your liability in the deal. Now, of course, there are other clauses you want to make sure that you have in the contract when you're the seller of the deal with your buyer. And we're going to talk about that on another video, so you definitely want to stay tuned. But if this video has helped you in any way possible today, guys, I want you to like the video. Put your comments down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. I want to know what you're thinking, because that actually helps me curate the best content for you to get out there and crush it in your market. And if you haven't done so already, make sure that you click the subscribe bell button somewhere on this screen, because every subscriber matters. It actually helps us with the YouTube algorithm for our content to continuously being shown on the thumbnail. Help us out with that. That will be amazing, guys. Until the next time, I see you on the flip side. Peace.
REI, geek swag, it's your time,